Now, in the run-up to the Paralympic Games, Channel 4 News exposed the difficulties disabled people face when flying. Well, it obviously struck a chord. Since then, we've been inundated with viewers sharing their stories. Here's Katie Ruddle.
In our first report on No Fly Britain, we heard from disabled travellers whose experience has left them afraid to fly. We spoke to passengers whose expensive wheelchairs had been damaged and who'd then been left thousands of pounds out of pocket because of laws limiting the amount of compensation airlines have to pay out. Not exactly holiday snaps for the album. We asked for your help to find out just how bad the problem was, and we've been inundated with tweets and Facebook messages. And it's not just damaged wheelchairs. Bryn Roberts contacted us via Facebook. He said, "My wife and I are both wheelchair users and airlines have refused to let us fly because we were travelling without a carer. As a result, we haven't flown abroad for about 5 years for fear of having our holidays cancelled." Catherine Alexander tweeted us to say, on flight to Florida, had to lie across 3 seats. Very painful and undignified. Haven't flown since. And Nicola Carlin told us, airline not letting us take our special needs seat on, which we have done before, meaning our son will be slumped all flight. Were these isolated incidents, or are they symptomatic of much deeper problems? It's 6 weeks since the Paralympics, with all those promises of a lasting legacy for disabled people. We were promised a sea change, and not just in attitudes to disability. But is anything actually changing? Can disabled travellers expect better from airports and airlines in the future? We asked one of the faces of the Games, the television presenter Sophie Morgan, to find out.
I know from personal experience how difficult air travel can be when you're disabled. I've had my wheelchair broken and even been told I can't travel without someone with me. It makes checking in a nerve-wracking experience.
For most people, coming to an airport to go on holiday should be a real treat. But for disabled people, it can be an absolute nightmare. I worry about access to facilities, care of my equipment, and whether I'm even going to arrive safely. And to be honest, every time I fly, it feels like a bit of a gamble.
And new research shows I'm far from alone. We've been given statistics which I find quite shocking, as they reveal just how many people are having bad experiences. A survey by the charity Trailblazers found that 60% of disabled passengers have had their wheelchairs damaged when flying. Almost half have felt unsatisfied with the service from airline staff who've helped them to their seat. And perhaps worst of all, 90% of passengers have been unable to use the toilets on board an aircraft. Others have had issues trying to take vital medicines onto flights. This is something that's also happened to me.
As a paraplegic, I rely on a variety of medication. And when my bag was lost on a flight to America, I had no choice but to return to the UK immediately and missed out on my holiday.
I've come to speak to the charity that's done the research to find out what other problems disabled people have come up against.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Tammy.
Nice to meet you.
Trailblazers spoke to more than 200 people about their experiences of flying.
Your findings have brought to light a lot of very sort of disturbing and shocking statistics. But what's the most surprising thing that you found?
We've actually had a couple of trailblazers who had to urinate into a bottle because they weren't able to get into the toilet, and that's something which really shouldn't be happening.
They had to go to the loo in their chairs. That's unbelievable.
So putting up a screen, and the thing is it's not acceptable and something does need to change in terms of the designs of aircraft.
So it's a much bigger problem than you originally anticipated.
That was actually the most shocking thing, that these issues, they weren't an exception. We thought they may be sort of individual incidents, but it turns out that the problems are actually much more prominent than we anticipated.
Armed with their findings, the charity are off to Parliament tomorrow to demand change. I want to hear some of the personal stories behind the statistics, so I'm off to meet one of the people they spoke to as part of their research. Salman Khan used to fly a lot. He travelled all over Europe on family holidays and even lived abroad.
So where are you there?
This was when we went to Disney World in Florida.
But as his condition has deteriorated, he's found it more and more difficult. Leaving his electric wheelchair at the gate means he loses all independence.
If I'm taken out of my wheelchair, I can't sit at all, because I can't hold my head up. And mainly because of my severe scoliosis, my spine just collapses. And so my diaphragm is being compressed. My lungs have difficulty breathing. I fall over, I can't hold myself up, so I can't.
So you can't support yourself?
I can't support myself.
What's happened for you when you've tried to use the facilities?
I just don't eat or drink anything.
Before, you don't eat or drink?
Anything at all during or before until I arrive at the destination.
You must be starving.
But I'd rather do that than have to. And I know a lot of disabled people who do that.
How's that made you feel? It makes me very angry.
Very degrading, you know, not having independence or being able to even to travel, but it's just a fact of life that you know, it's very challenging.
It's hard to believe that things like this are happening to disabled people in 2012. And it's so sad that young people like Solomon are not able to live their lives to the full. I'm going to one of Britain's biggest airports to find out what's going on.
Gatwick Airport is one of the busiest in the country, and at peak times nearly 2,000 passengers a day will need special assistance. Management say they've invested more than £2 million in improving facilities for disabled people.
I think it's certainly at the forefront of, the Games throughout the summer has brought that to the forefront of people's minds. We've invested some extra money, but we've also invested in our staff, providing the right training. So overall, it's not just about buying stuff, it's also about equipping our staff with the right skills and attitudes as well towards disabled people.
Do you think the industry's doing a good enough job to help passengers that have reduced mobility?
I think we can always do better. The European Union standards for handling passengers with reduced mobility or disabled people are quite low, and subsequently expectations are quite low. We've still got a long way to go, and continuous improvement is all about what we do here at Gatwick.
Do you think there's a long way to go?
I think there's a reasonable way to go, yeah.
It is encouraging that some airports are making changes, but a lot of the time our most basic needs aren't being met. And I think it's going to be a long time until disabled people can feel really confident flying.
There's lots more on this story, including Sophie Morgan's blog about making that film, in the special report on our website, channel4.com/news.